Okay, I've never really done one of these, but I was in a group chat talking about that it's a good time to sell Rachaad White because the Bucks just cut Lenny Fournette. I was getting some pushback on the idea. What you have here is an opportunity to liquidate an asset that is marginal and that is at the running back position, right? In February, when running back values rarely go up, right? You want to have a lot of liquidity and fluidity at this point in the off season, right? You want more picks than you have, and you can always do players later. You're not setting lineups now, and especially if you're not going to be a true contender, you don't really care too much about running backs anyway, particularly running backs like Rachaad White, who, if you are a true contender, really isn't that important to your plans at the moment, right? So the idea that, well, he's going to start scoring points in September and I can get more for him now, maybe not. And so what I want to do is not in a way that's like, you must sell him now, what are you doing? But just kind of just walk you through what I think, because I don't like when people are condescending about it, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. And I was kind of getting to that point, like in my head in the chat, like, how is this not obvious that we're selling Rachaad White? So I don't want to be a douche about it. I want to walk you through it, right? So let's take a look at Rachaad White coming out of college, right? We're talking about someone who we knew going into the NFL his value was going to mostly lie with him being good at pass catching. That he was a good enough runner, right? But that, it wasn't really going to translate to the NFL, especially between the tackles, right? We're talking about Arizona State. We're talking about Pac-12 tackling, right? So we kind of knew that's where his value was. So he already was, even though, maybe my RB 5 or 6 in the class, right, going into the draft, it was largely because of his PPR value, right? So we knew that he wasn't going to be a 3-down guy and that he was going to be complimentary. And quite frankly, the fact that he was RB6 or whatever kind of speaks to, how kind of, how the 2022 class was as a whole relative to the 2023 class. But anyway, right? So we kind of knew that going in, right? So then he goes in, gets drafted by the Bucks, which is pretty good, right? He's got Brady as a quarterback. Brady checks down a lot. The offense will move, right, and score. We like that. Doesn't really crack the lineup much. Gets a little bit of opportunity more so later in the season, especially when Lenny was injured. We like 50 catches. We like that, right? But, 2 TDs, 5.8 yards per reception. There was nothing impressive, really, about White. He was okay. He was pretty good, right? So now what is he now, right? Who do you have now? Before Lenny got cut today, right? What was the max that you had Rachaad White ranked at? 24? 20 if you were aggressive among running backs, right? It's not that I hate him. I have him at 28, Okay, so now what's he going to look like? Even just when the rookies enter the mix. What number is he going to be at when you add the rookies, right? Right. And so now you've got Lenny cut, right? And now you've got an opening to sell. And Dynasty Fever did an episode about this. Every Dynasty podcast did an episode about this. It's not just us, right? The 2023 running back landscape is going to look really different in July, August than it does now, right? And now you have a window on White. Right, you have to take advantage of these windows because of 2023 is so topsy-turvy and no one's safe. That was the message that everybody was telling you, right? Was that no one's safe, right? Except for a few people who, you're probably not trading for if you don't need them as a contender, or they're too expensive, or they're too old, right? Or right, like basically anybody below RB 18, 16, right, is not safe this year with the deep free agent class and with the deep draft class, right? So now Lenny gets cut. So now the perceived value of Rachaad White in the minds of the average dynasty manager has now increased, right? Because now he's RB1 in Tampa, and now people want to build the narrative that, this is good for him and that his touches are going to increase, right? Okay. That's why you sell. because there's a and this is not me being risk averse, although I tend to be. This is just me being calculated. This is just me seeing an opportunity. There is more of a chance that with this deep free agent class and this deep rookie class, that another back gets added to the Tampa backfield that decreases the value from where Rachaad's value is right now this afternoon, right? So you have an opportunity to sell an asset that is meh to begin with, right? At a spike in the perceived value of the average dynasty manager, you seize that opportunity, especially it's at the running back position. Why have a running back on your roster in late February when you can have, the 203, right? Like, it's not just because you're going to draft, I don't know, Zach Charbonnet at the 203, which give me him over Rachaad White any day of the week. It's also because that 203 is liquid, right? And now you're fluid. Now you can use that 203 for something else, right? The most you paid for Rachaad White in a Superflex rookie draft was a late first, right? And that's probably expensive. He was more so going around like between like 203 and 209-ish, right? If you can get that back on your return, that's not terrible, right? This time of year, right? Obviously, I would want a little more than that, but you also can't just get obsessed with sunken cost, right? It's kind of what you paid doesn't really matter. It's gone, right? It's about what's going on now. And what's going on now is you have the opportunity to take a guy at a position that is volatile, that, is that we don't really care too much about, the running back position, right? Who was a part-timer to begin with, who's about to probably get people added to his roster, right, in the running back room, who loses Tom Brady, right, who checks down a lot, and who moves the offense, right? Sell. These are the kinds of opportunities you have to take advantage of in Dynasty, right? These are the kinds of things that, like, if you want to get, you know me, I say all the time, you can't make everything the stock market, right? You got to actually care about scoring points and winning. And like, I get that, right? Like, I'm not team nerd, team spreadsheet, team squeeze every little ounce of value out all the time, right? That's not me, right? Sometimes you got to make trades that help your team. Even if you lose the trade, it helps your team. I'm cool with that, right? But this is February, right? And that's not the trades that we make now, right? The trades that we make now are, Rachaad White got a value bump, right? And so if you want to be the type of dynasty manager that's going to try to look a little bit further ahead down the road and a little bit down that horizon and play the stock market a little bit more, right? Even if it's not like complete stock market, what the hell are you doing holding on to Rachaad White in late February when Lenny gets cut, when you can turn him into, I don't know, a late second and a 24 second? His ADP right now is in like the mid to late 8th round of startup drafts, right around when like the 112 and the 201 are getting taken, right? Which to me, if I can get a late first for Rachaad White now, with the value that a late first has, that I could use elsewhere or draft, whatever, Josh Downs. Give me that now instead of Rachaad White. Why would that even be a question, right? Bonus content. Another person going right around there in startup draft, which is another guy to trade who isn't safe, right? Who's overvalued, is Isaiah Pacheco, right? These are the guys that, like, get them off your roster now when you can get picks for them. Because after this carousel of running backs is done and after the musical chairs is over and the music stops, there's a very good chance these guys have lower value, smaller role, however you want to see it, right? So it's not about risk averse. It's about weighing the amount of risk versus the amount of reward and making the right bet. And the right bet now is to liquidate a marginal running back in February when you can. That's the move to make, right? That's the bet to make, right? And chances are, if you really love Rachaad White, right, you can sell him in a few leagues now, and then in June, in the dead zone, buy him back for 2/3 in another league, right? And you're still good, so you can still have a little bit of Rachaad White in your portfolio, right? Like I know that sometimes I can seem like passionate and like super like focused and like into what I'm like saying, right? I'm totally not trying to come off like someone who's like talking down and saying like, oh, what are you, crazy? Trade Rachaad? What? It's like I'm so passionate that like this is a move. Let's do it. Like collectively, let's seize on this opportunity, and that's really where the passion is coming from. So yeah, sell Rachaad White. Go for it.